I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, too tired. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, episode 808. This is the Indy Report. I am your host, David L. Rhodes. I hope you guys are having an outstanding Wednesday, to say the least. And I'm going to run through the intro. I have Brandon King and Jeffrey Johnson and Tariq Wilson are all on assignment, but so I'm going to hold it down. Got a couple things we can discuss. We're going to discuss today. So we'll go ahead and run through the intro. Welcome to episode 808 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta. No, I'm not. I'm David L. Rhodes. Dr. Kenyatta Cavil is also on assignment, but he will be with you guys tomorrow, along with my co-hosts, Jeffrey Johnson, Tariq Wilson, and Brandon King. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. I was going to open up. Well, I can't still open up with this, but things have fluidly changed. Reports from HBCU Game Day, and shout out to Stephen Gaither and the good job that he does over there. One of the things that was going over the past few days was involving the Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina speaking for South Carolina State's commencement for their graduation. And less than an hour ago, it's been reported that the president, Alexandria Conyers of South Carolina State, has rescinded her invitation to speak at graduation, which I think was absolutely the right move. The students have been protesting for the past few days. And I appreciate the swiftness of getting this resolved. It was a lot of back and forth between the students and the lieutenant governor, who is also running for governor, by the way. So just keep that, so it's just a friendly reminder that we got to hit the polls and do what we need to do with regards to things like this. But that being said, I'm proud of the students for standing up for what they felt like was right. And shout out to the students down at South Carolina State for doing what they need to do with regards to this. And shout out to the leadership for listening to the students. Because without them, you really don't have much of a gig in the grand scheme of things. Let me go look at the comments real quick. Any thoughts on Deshaun Jackson getting sued by a former player? Could it cast a negative shadow on the program? Yeah, it could. I think when it comes to that situation, we kind of gotta let the courts do what they're gonna do. I think because of Deshaun Jackson, people are still gonna be willing to go to play there. It's clear that he's been able to recruit really well. Shout out to my buddies over in HBCU Nightly. Shout out to Josh Sims and the rest of the crew. On Sunday, they kind of went over to MEAC and the Independents, and they weren't that high on Delaware State this year, which I will say is a scary proposition. I think they only had them winning one conference game, which is kind of wild. I kind of understand why, but it's also kind of wild considering they were second place in the conference last season. Now, they did lose a lot of talent to the portal, but to go from second to next to last is kind of egregious. But we'll see. Time will tell. Everybody's getting better, right? So, I don't think the school down the road thought they were going to be terrible, doing be third place in the conference, and here they are, right? Here they were going third place in the conference. So, I think it's not going to really affect them as much from a prediction, from a expectation standpoint or a recruiting standpoint. I think Delaware State feels like they should win the conference next year, so we'll be interested to see how that's going to go. I don't agree, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It's tough, man. Like when the announcement came out about that young lady speaking, the first question I was just asking was, whose idea was it? And the initial report was that the president was the one who called and invited her. So now you put this on the president, and I have a habit of getting into the echo chamber of social media, and I started doing some digging, and what I learned was that I guess there was somebody in the board of trustees was kind of pushing for it as well. But it looks like the president rescinded it today, which was the right decision. I don't have an issue with the governor being at commencement. But me as a person, I've never been the biggest fan of politicians speaking at commencement, regardless of the party, because it overshadows what it's ultimately about. It should be about the students, whether it's somebody you agree with or not, right? It should be about the students. And a lot of times, while on paper it seems cool to have like a governor or a president or somebody else speaking at commencement, I think that it kind of overshadows the purpose of it. It overshadows the students. And a lot of times it turns into a stump speech for somebody, and that's not fair to the students ultimately. But that's just my take when it comes to that. Oh no, I watched the whole episode, man. It boiled down to Josh didn't think that Delaware State's gonna sneak up on anybody. And it's a valid point that the way that they played last year, it's hard to win like that consistently. People know what you're gonna do. But also you gotta remember that good coaches will adjust. And the fact that Deshaun Jackson walked in the second season and got second place in that first season on the job and got second place in that conference when they picked him to go last is impressive to say the least. So I'm not going to automatically assume that that's the same style he's going to try to run. He's probably going to try to run something similar, but I'm pretty sure he's going to add some wrinkles to it so they can win, so they can try to do better than what they did last season. And I'm gonna tell you something. Comparing Delaware State to Prairie View is a death sentence. I don't think that ain't what you want. Terrain Jackson is not messing around, man. Did you see that coaching staff he popped up with? That coaching staff, he's got a lot of people on that coaching staff, man. Most teams ain't most SWAC. I don't know how many SWAC teams got that many assistant coaches and things of that sort. So I don't know if that's not a fair comparison. That's kind of wild. There's only one game that threatens Chennis next season, and it's not in the MEAC. They have a legitimate shot to go undefeated next year. If they beat Furman, undefeated is not out of question. I know that some people will say their biggest challenge within the MEAC would be the school down the road, but that game's going to be in Orangeburg, and they got a new offensive coordinator. So, their previous offensive coordinator is over at Tennessee State now. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how well that transition is going to be for them. But Chennis Berry ain't lost a conference game in over 4 years. Like, think about that. He didn't lose a conference game in the first 2 years. There's last 2 years in SAIC. He ain't lose a conference game at all in the MEAC yet. He ain't lost a conference game yet in the MEAC. So it's going to be interesting to see who will finally give him that first conference loss. But I don't know if it's going to happen this upcoming year. So, that's just how I feel about that situation. I mean, somebody's got to prove me wrong. I gave South Carolina. I thought last year was a rebuilding year for South Carolina State, and it was, and they still end up winning the conference, going undefeated. So take that as you wish. With regards to other news, well, this is a good way to segue to my commercial break. I want to shout out Karan Prunty. Karan Prunty got drafted in the 5th round by the New England Patriots. He graduated from North Carolina A&T before he transferred to Wake Forest. And I wanted to give a shout out to that gentleman for making it into the leagues. Should be interesting to see how he does with New England. I live up here. For those who don't know, I live literally about an hour from Boston. Less than an hour. I'm less than an hour away from Foxborough, where the Patriots play. So it's gonna be, and they do training camp in Rhode Island. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he does there. 5th round pick is a good spot. And I'm about to take the first commercial break and have a discussion about the NFL draft as a whole, and give you guys my thoughts regarding what I think we should be worried about and what I think we shouldn't be worried about with regards to the NFL draft, and give you guys a couple takes about some of the articles that's come out about the NFL draft. So we'll be right back after this first break.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell them mama hungry.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports.
Test the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, episode 808. This is the Indy Report. So the NFL draft was over the weekend. For those who don't know, I have a podcast that cover the Carolina Panthers called P&P. During that week, is all typically a lot of times it's following the anniversary of the podcast. It was year number 9 for us, the 9th anniversary for us over the weekend. And typically we do a draft bonanza. We go through all the picks. I was there all 3 days. I was there for day 1 and 2. And then the third day I was in and out because I had personal things going on. But overall, it was a good weekend to say the least with regards to that. But I think after the draft ended, we had not a single HBCU player was drafted. And we There was a lot of dialogue on it. There was a lot of discussions on it. They talked about how there was a player that got drafted that was in that HBCU showcase, but that showcase was also an international players pathway program as well for international players to try out. One of my guys was down there. He helps run the event. He gives out the media credentials. He does everything with regards to that. And I think like some people were kind of like rubbed the wrong way about how some of the stuff was reported regarding an HBCU player not being drafted. But the thing about the combine and the showcase was it's about your film, but it's also about how you perform on that day. And there was a lot of the kid that got drafted, UR Bernard, who got taken by the Eagles. The guy ran a 4.6 40 as a 300-pound defensive end, and they weren't running backs. They ran a 4.6 during that combine. Now there was one player that I felt like should have been drafted, and that was Eric Hunter from Oregon State. But when you only have one HBCU player that has a shot to get drafted, that individual not getting drafted would not be shocking. But at the same time, he received a contract as an undrafted free agent that was comparable to a 6th-round pick. And there were stories going on in the NFL that was discussing players getting the phone call that they were going to get drafted and telling the teams not to draft them because it was after the 5th round. He had a better deal in place with another team. And then at that point, the NFL team pretty much said, you're getting drafted, deal with it, type of situation. So there's pros and cons about where you're going to get drafted. I've always been in the belief of, and I've said this numerous times, if you don't get drafted by the 5th round and you are considered a guy that was shafted, so to speak, I would hope to not get drafted and let teams bid for you because you tend to get a bigger contract, more guarantees. It'll be a shorter deal, but when you're younger, you want the shorter deal so you can get the big payday. Because in the draft, those deals tend to be 4-year deals. If you get drafted, and undrafted free agents, they're 3-year deals, and they tend to be more money if it's after the 5th round. So that's something that the NFL is going to have to figure out. But right now, the way that the system goes, if you don't get drafted by the 5th round, it makes sense to just hope get picked up by the undrafted free agent. And we all knew that Eric Hunter was going to get picked up. Like I don't think that was a question from my perspective about him getting picked up. The Detroit Lions ended up picking him up and signed him to a pretty good 3-year deal, about $1 million a year. And I think he got close to $200K guaranteed. I could pull up the numbers at some point, but he got a pretty substantial deal. Like to put it in perspective, a lot of the 7th-round picks don't get $100K guaranteed. 6th-round picks get around $2, so $250. So he got comparable to a 6th-round pick with a shorter deal, which means you get an opportunity to get an extension quicker than a 6th-round pick would. So I think Eric Hunter in Detroit should do well. I have some compadres out in the UK that I podcast with on occasion. They're very stoked to get him. For those who don't know, Brad Holmes is the general manager for the Detroit Lions. He's an A&T alum. I went to school with him. So it's good to see that connection is still there. He also was the same. He was also the GM when he picked up James Houston from Jackson State. So shout out to him for doing that. But I think Eric Hunter has a pretty good, based on the contract and everything else that's falling into place, I think he has a pretty good shot to make the 53-man roster. And a lot of times undrafted free agents tend to make the 53-man roster. Like my team, the Panthers, they tend to keep at least 1 or 2 from that list. Like we analyzed lists on the show last night, and typically, we keep 1 or 2 off of that list. They typically take somebody's job. So I don't expect anything less from Eric Hunter in regards to that. But I think we have to simmer down when it comes to the dialogue when it comes to this, only because folks in the FCS isn't really getting drafted. There was only 4 FCS draft picks over the weekend. The NFL draft has pretty much turned into the P4 draft. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and the ACC took the bulk of the picks. 27 of the schools covered for 182 of the draft picks. There's 257 picks in the NFL draft. So when you start looking at the data and looking at the numbers, we kind of see what the draft has become. We can have the debate on whether or not the scouts are doing their due diligence when it comes to that. Nowadays, the scouts are now starting to talk to the press about the picks and explain why they went with the picks that they did, which I think is great. I know the Panthers are doing that, and other NFL teams have done it in the past, but it seems like it's happening more now, which is also fascinating in itself. But I want folks to not be in a panic about this. We can have the debate about scheduling. We can have the debate about everything else with regards to that. But I think when it comes to draft, I think the number one goal for HBCUs, especially in athletics, is to make sure they graduate people. Like that has always been one of our number one goals. And if they end up going pro, awesome. They go pro. But also if they don't go pro, where just like 98.4% of every college athlete that plays football doesn't go pro, they have something to fall back on. And that's a degree at an HBCU. So I think we just got to remember that before we have so much outrage when it comes to this. We know that when our guys get opportunities in the NFL, they tend to excel. And they will continue to get those opportunities because the NFL, the teams want to win. So they're going to try to get the best players they can. As long as they keep getting the undrafted free agents. Yeah, I mean, if we want to, I'm going through the comments now. If we want to roll with that, yeah, I mean, I'm counting the 3 that we got drafted. But, Plenty was there for 2 years at Wake Forest. I'm not sure about the other 2 individuals that got drafted. So, but another thing that I didn't mention about those players, those international players that's from the pathway, NFL teams get a roster exemption for them. So they're not counted against the 53-man roster because they'll be there to develop. And the NFL's trying to expand their global brand and expand folks playing their sport across the world. So those international players, they get a roster exemption, so they're not counted towards the 53-man roster. And for NFL teams, that's precious. So when typically when they go into training camp in July, there's 90 players, and by the end of the preseason, they go down to 53. So roster spots like this are precious. So that's why I'm not in a panic when it comes to that. And then you're going to have a lot of your players that's going to be that's going to get mini camp invites, things of that sort. And that's an opportunity for them to get a contract. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes when it comes to that. And listen, and Emmett is saying it, but but now the SWAC has passed rules that you can't play those type of schools anymore. They have to be Division I or Division II. And I commend the SWAC for doing that. I think it's important. That being said, I think that, playing competitions matter just a tad when it comes to getting drafted. But I think it's going to be harder to get drafted regardless because of the way that the draft is being formatted right now. That's just my 2 cents about it. But but that kid, UR Bernard from Nigeria, I watched this stuff, man. He's legit. He's athletic. 2 years. He was at Wake for 2 years. Yeah. He was with us from 22 to 24, and then he went to Wake from 24, 26. Or 24, 25. So, because he was with us for 3 seasons. I can double check, but I'm pretty sure he had 2 years at Wake. Because now you're going to have me checking. But I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, y'all were right. It's 1 year. I stand corrected. It was just 1 year. My bad. He was only there at 1 year. I stand corrected. So he was there for 1 season. Yeah, I don't have the whole list with me right now of who got signed as an undrafted free agent. But I'm going to tell you one thing that the NFL really harps on in its measurables. That is a big deal when it comes to that. They're into the measurables. So like if you ain't got the right height and weight and the right frame, and the right wingspan, they take you off the list off that alone sometimes. But I do not have the whole list with me with regards to who got picked up. There's a lot of folks. But yeah, there's a lot. But then it's not just the NFL out there, man. There's the CFL, there's the UFL, things of that sort too. But yeah, there was only four FCS players. 2 of them were from North Dakota State, if I remember correctly. So sunny Seattle. At least it's 60 degrees here, Adam. Because it's been kind of cold the past few days. But shout out to you. I know Jackson State did get a chunk of UFDA and minicamp invites. Maybe I should start coming to you before I start saying stuff, A&T Roy. Nah, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, that would be number 4 for them. Yeah, that'll be if they end up winning the MEAC again, that'll be number 4. That'll tie A&T with the most. I mean, we got a few schools that have been there 3 times, right? South Carolina State's been there 3 times. Jackson State's been there 3 times. So we got a few schools that's been there a couple times when it comes to the Celebration Bowl. Yes. Yep. He is. He is. Well, here's the thing, right? You can tell teams whatever you want. They can still decide to draft you. You know, and you're taking a risk too, because not everybody gets an undrafted free agent deal. But the thing is, after round 5, it doesn't make too many. It's if you know that you're worth more than that, it doesn't make sense. I know that's kind of like Gramblin's been there. No, Gramblin's been there twice. They went in 20. They went back to back. They went in 2016. They went in 2017. Went 1-1. Oh Lord, the source. You're not a magazine, bro. If you know, you know. But yeah, man, that's just my thoughts on the draft. I think overall, we're gonna wait and see how this thing goes, man. There's gonna be a lot of folks that's gonna get opportunities. There's gonna be a lot of folks that's gonna lose their jobs. Because I know there's some of our guys that's gonna be able to beat out some of these folks. But it'll be interesting. Let me see. Does anybody got a pretty good list of all the undrafted free agents? I'm looking it up now. Oh, shout out to HBCU Sports. I mean, Jamari Taylor played to the school down the road and transferred to Virginia. He didn't get drafted either. But running back's a tough spot. Based on this list, I don't know how accurate. I'm looking at HBCU Sports list. You got Dupree from Jackson State, Hunter from Morgan, and Jamari Taylor from the school down the road. Who got picked up as an undrafted free agent from the Browns, Lions, and Jags. This doesn't have everybody though from a mini camp standpoint, because I know for a fact that my guy Corian Sharp from A&T, offensive lineman, he got a mini camp invite from the Cleveland Browns. I know Curtis Allen, the running back from Virginia Union, got an invite. Well, he's still trying to decide. I think he needs to make his decision sooner than later. This isn't helping him. He needs to pick a team and go. That's just my take on it. I don't know if he finally made a decision on whether he was going to go to Atlanta or Seattle. But he needs to just pick one and go and take the opportunity. I know Jeremiah Williams from Jackson State. He got an invite from the Vikings. Quincy Ivory from the Bucks. From Jackson State also got an invite from the Bucks. It's gonna be hard to root for that man because he plays for the Bucks. Ain't goes for anybody that goes to the Falcons. I'm sorry. Jalen Shelton, he got an invite from Prairie View. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But overall, man, I'm happy with how the draft went. I'm a little disappointed that no HBCU folks get drafted, but I understand why. You gotta schedule better, but I think I harped that horn a lot. I've had scouts tell me that. Like, that's that is a factor. You could call them however you want. I know some folks have comments about how they feel about the way people scout, but if you're going to complain about players not getting to the NFL, and there's folks in good authority telling me that, hey, they got to play tough for opponents, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying play like Clemson or play like Indiana, shout out to Howard, but play some tougher opponents. And I think the SWAC is going in that direction. The MEAC kind of doesn't have much of a choice because they have to schedule 7 out of conference games. So yeah. See, I gotta find a list. He has a shot to get a contract too. There's a lot of folks that like Aaron Harris. And the thing that I've learned too, before I go to the final break, the other thing that I've learned too is that one thing that you need to keep in mind when you make the decision to when you get all these invites to these bowl games, these all-star bowl games, and this will be good. This will be good, AJ. This will be good stuff. When you get invited to these all-star games and when you get invited to these combines, you need to show up. Like, I think you need to show up. Legacy Bowl, you need to show up, do all the drills, do all the practices, do everything. Take advantage of every single opportunity that you have. Because, I've over the past couple of years, folks haven't been wanting to do some of these activities. And I'm telling you right now, it matters. Like, it absolutely matters if you're serious about trying to get into the league. So make sure you do everything. Take advantage of the interview opportunities. Take advantage when the scouts are in the room. Because those are the impressions that they see. And, small schools got it rough, man. That's just the truth. Not just HBCUs. They all got it rough. Like I just said, only 4 FCS players got drafted. So, out of 257 players, 4 players that ended their college career at FCS got drafted. So just keep that in mind. We're going to take our last break. We'll be back on the other side. And we'll catch up on some things. Hold on. Wait, before I do that. We're second level, wouldn't be well. You got FBS and FCS. If you split FBS up, you got 2 levels. Sure. Well, I mean, sure, but there's still NFL folks at this level. Now that's the fact. They all made the playoffs. This is true. I'm still shocked that the wide receiver from Illinois State didn't get drafted though. But he's in a pretty good spot. So he got a pretty good shot to make the team. All right, let's go ahead and take our first break. We'll be back on the other side. Or our second break, our final break, and we'll be back on the other side.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
And we have to fund our kids in these colleges, and we have to make sure our kids have seats in these colleges.
And what about HBCUs? You mentioned.
Absolutely. You got to fund them all, and you got to make sure they're properly funded. The real reason why I went after Comcast and Charter, it didn't have anything to do with my cable networks. It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCUs. And Comcast did not accept it. And that would have made a lot of money for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. And when they didn't do that, that's when I came off the bench and said, okay, I'm going to light you up like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I don't own. I just knew.
Why didn't you buy it?
I just knew. I just knew that these black.
I like that talk.
All right. I knew that these black colleges were going to benefit, and these black kids were going to get the education that they deserved and not have to pay.
There's a shot.
That might be. It could be.
Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Press the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, episode 808. This is the Indy Report. I'm going to talk a little bit about baseball, because I'm gonna be honest with you. A&T is currently 3-18 in conference, 12-31 overall. They got a big win against who the heck did we just play? I'm drawing a blank. Against Winthrop. Now I remember. Against Winthrop. They got a big win against Winthrop, who's first in the Big South. So we're able to beat Big South teams. We're able to beat, I guess, their NEC teams, since the MEAC doesn't cover baseball. We're able to beat these teams, and but in conference we're not where we need to be. Like I said, we're 3-18 in conference. We're not going to make the CAA tournament. Every team doesn't make the CAA tournament. We're 5 games behind the next to last person in our division, because they did divisions. They started divisions this year. So we're 5-1 against the Big South. We got winning records against every conference except for the one that we're in. There definitely are parallels. But I think baseball has a tougher hill to climb than basketball from a resource standpoint. But we have a 3-game series against Campbell and Buies Creek. And you know what the most hilarious thing would be funny to me? If we get swept in Campbell and then go to Raleigh, North Carolina, and beat North Carolina State. Because that would be the most A&T thing to do. But overall, I don't think we won a single series in conference. I'm checking right now to verify that. I'm looking at the schedule now. Nah, we haven't won a single series in conference yet. Not a weekend. I haven't won a weekend yet. We got a lot of sweeps, couple 1 and 2s. Ain't won one yet. When I look at the standings and the last 3 teams left in conference right now, we have Campbell, then we play NC State, then we got UNCW, and then we close out against Monmouth in New Jersey. If I look at the standings, I don't know. I'm looking to check and see who's our best chance. Monmouth is second in the North. Campbell is first in the South. UNCW is second in the South. I don't know if we're going to win any of those series. So Campbell's 20-4, 30-14 overall. UNCW is 13-8 in conference, 25-18 overall. And Monmouth is 15-6 in conference, 24-17 overall. So it's going to be tough sledding with regards to us getting a win in baseball. Softball, we're a little bit better. We're not going to make the postseason. We're not going to make the postseason there either. We close out this weekend. We're playing Elon. Well, we played Elon. I don't know what the final score is, but we played Elon today. No, we play Elon tomorrow. Excuse me. So we got a 3-game series against Elon to close out the season. Our record's not good enough to make the postseason. We're next to last in conference. The only team that has a worse record than us is Hampton, and actually they could potentially tie. We could potentially tie if we don't win a game. Hampton is 4-20 overall, 4-20 in conference, 10-33 overall. A&T is 4-17 in conference, 19-31 overall. So, it's been rough with baseball and softball for both us and Hampton respectively. Track we're in good shape there. So I'm like, we got a chance to repeat as outdoor champions on the men's side. The ladies are getting there, but so far with track, we're in a good place with our track and field. I could say that. So we're in a good place there. It's funny. Another Aggie gave me some, told me that I guess the majority of the championships that are won in the conference are in the state of North Carolina, which is kind of wild to think when you sit down and think about it. But anywho, let me see if there's any other comments that I missed before I adjourn. But yeah, I should give a quick shout out to the track and field award winners. Yeah, so I'll tell you this about our track team. Jason Holmes, I expect him to make it to nationals again on our hurdles. We should have a few folks that make it to nationals, but I expect Jason Holmes to make it and have a legitimate shot to win it to be a first team All-American. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Yeah, man. Y'all, I'm happy to y'all were struggling in softball even worse than what y'all currently are right now. I love this. I'm curious to see how that's going to go. Particularly how it's going to look on television. I'm assuming that it's going to be on television, so I'm looking forward to that with the baseball classic. Is there anything else we need to discuss today? I think that's all I need to discuss for today. I think I covered everything. Once again, shout out to South Carolina State and the students for applying the pressure that was needed. And shout out to Jim Clyburn, because he was the one that recommended to the students to protest. So shout out to him as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and close out a little early. The OG Strike Zone is next. So make sure you stick around and check that out at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. You can follow me on Twitter at champd1012. Make sure you go to hupirateShip.com for Hampton Athletics coverage, and make sure you check out SneakerShopTalk.com. He's going to probably talk about the new bloodlines that are coming out, the Air Jordan 12 bloodlines, but he also covers a lot of HBCU sports on that website as well. So shout out to my man Brandon King. We look forward to next week to discuss the latest news in the lab. Make sure you follow Dr. Kenyatta Cavil at Dr. Kenyatta Cavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Follow Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook and Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big and continue to move forward. We'll talk to you soon. Course, lecture, dismiss. See you guys next week.